welcome back to the Daughter Arise channel. Hope that you're having a fantastic day. So today I've just been busy trying to start preparing for my little project that I'll be doing in June called Testimony to the Streets. So for those of you who don't know, I am going to be sharing my testimony about my experience of sexual abuse on the streets of Brixton in June. So that's coming up in a few weeks' time. And the reason why I have chose to do this is because I want people to know that there is hope in the aftermath of abuse. Now, sexual abuse is a big problem in every single community, not just white, black, Asian, all different races, classes, different backgrounds. Sexual abuse is no respecter of anybody's individual backgrounds, including religions. It affects all people everywhere. Now, I want to share my story. Brixton is predominantly a black area, and I have, through my work in Daughter Arise, I work with lots of different women from different backgrounds and stuff. And one of the problems we have, I believe, I'm speaking as a black woman coming from the black community, is sexual abuse is almost seen as not really a big issue, and it's not talked about enough within the community. Now, I'm sharing my testimony to share it with everybody, regardless of their race, religion, background, but I really want the message to get out to a lot of black people, especially black women and men who have been through sexual abuse, that it's not okay. It may have ran in your family for generations and been passed down, and it might be a family thing. Incest is just a family thing, like it was in my family, but it is wrong and it is a crime. And if you've gone through it, you need to be able to know that it's wrong and it shouldn't have happened to you, and that there is help available. So Daughter Arise is out here in the community. We're based in Brixton, and I run a support group every other month at the moment because I am studying, but for the last 2 years before that, I run the support group every month, and it will go back to that next year. So, we're out here in the community trying to support people through different ways. We do events, support groups, we have the helpline, we have this YouTube channel, and we want people to know that there is help and support available. They don't have to suffer in silence. Now, I know for a lot of people, fear is what keeps them bound, because they may have been threatened that your family won't believe you, you're going to get into trouble, bad things are going to happen to you. But at some point, because I believe every person who's been through it at some point sees how sexual abuse is affecting their life. They may not understand it, but they might see it. It might have left an print on them. Fears of men, fear of relationships, fear of trusting people. In some way, they have some kind of knowledge about how it's affecting their life. And I want people to know through sharing my story that there is hope and what it looks like on the other side. A lot of people think that, I have to live bound, I have to live depressed. No, you don't. There's people out here to help you. Daughter Arise is out in the community, and I want people to know that. So it's not been it's been very hard for me to do this. I've been led to do this for about a year now, and I lacked courage. I'm just going to be honest with you, because it's one thing to go and do speaking events in venues and different things, and that's absolutely fine. But to then go and share your story on the street is a totally different thing. So it's taken a while for me to get to a stage where I felt I can do this, and that's something I want to do. And it's going to be in June. I've got about 8 volunteers so far. We're going to go out. We're going to have a couple banners, a couple placards talking about sexual abuse. Hear my story. It is a crime. And, we'll be engaging with the community. I'm going to, me and my team will be praying with people. And even if you're not a Christian and you don't pray and stuff, if you just want to come down and support and stand and show support while I do this, I would so appreciate it. It's not easy. It's something that needs to be done. And even more so when I now share with you what I have to share, because this week, and I'm going to read to you quickly this article and share my thoughts on it. I came across this article and I posted it on my Daughter Arise Facebook page about a girl who was 5 years old who was raped by somebody. So I'm going to share the story with you, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my thoughts and feelings behind it. So I'll just read it to you. So Jerry Ablorh of Bensham Lane in Thornton Heath was convicted of 1 count of rape and 2 other sexual offences at Croydon Court last month. Ablorh, who went by several different names, including Eugene and Uncle John, met the victim after befriending her mother in 2013. He worked hard to build up their trust and offered to look after the victim, took her to the park, sent the mother photos, all the while reassuring her that her daughter was okay and that everything was all right. After building a relationship with the mother, he took the girl to an outhouse he rented in a garden, and he attacked her. And the attacks were from January to December 2014. On each occasion, Ablorh told the victim that her mother or other family members would die if she told anyone about the abuse. But 2 years later, the brave girl told her mum about the attacks and was notified in October 2016. During a police interview, the girl sobbed and she told trained officers about the ordeal. She's now receiving treatment for depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. Ablorh dodged police during a manhunt that followed shortly after. The police were alerted, but he was arrested or leaving a church on New Year's Eve. He denied wrongdoing, but was charged with 2 counts of rape and 3 counts of sexual assault. The victim, now 8, had to give video evidence via video link. The jury found him guilty of 3 offences and acquitted him of 2. During the sentence, recorder David Brooks said Ablorh had abused the family's trust. He said, "You were introduced to the mother and victim by a family friend in 2013, and you began a friendship as there was no father on the scene. You abused that trust." This is not a case of deliberate and sustained grooming, but rather you befriended the mother and took advantage of the girl that where the opportunity arose. So, and the sentencing officer from Sexual Offences Exploitation and Child Abuse Command, Laura Davis, said that Ablorh probably abused other children. She wants other victims to come forward because they believe he has done it before. So as you can see, this is just a terrible case. And when I first came across it, I was absolutely mad. I was upset because I was thinking to myself, here we go again with these people. You know, again, we're seeing another story of an abuser just taking total advantage. So I've got several observations from this story. First of all, you know, this story is from the Croydon Guardian. And I know the recorder said that this wasn't a deliberate case of grooming, but I don't know, I beg to differ, because you can see, you know, the grooming process in practice, I think, here, because, you know, it says that, you know, he befriended the mother, you know, he took the child to the park, took the child out places, he reassured the mother her child was okay, he took photos in the park, sent them to say, like, you know, here, look, you know, she's having fun, this relaxed the mother, you know, and then all the while he started to, you know, build up the child's trust. And then he went as far as to rent an outhouse in somebody's garden so he could do these attacks for the year, these sustained attacks. And then, you know, while he was doing all this, he was telling the child that she would die if she ever told anybody. Now, one of the things you need to understand about paedophiles and sexual abusers is that, and child abusers, is that they always try and inoculate the child because they need the child to keep quiet about what they're doing. They know that what they're doing is wrong, because if they didn't believe it was wrong, why would you need the child to keep quiet? He clearly knew what he was doing was wrong. And the very fact that in this article they have said here that he's been known by several different names, leads me to believe that this man has done it before. If you're somebody that knows this man and knows what he's capable of, you need to report it to the police if you have any suspicions about him, no matter how small it is. You know, they're always trying to inoculate the victims by telling them to keep quiet or they're going to die. My father did it with me. He told me very early on in the abuse, if I ever told anybody, I'd go deaf, dumb and blind. But look, this child at 8 years old, 3 years after the incidents had happened, found some kind of inner courage and strength. And God bless this child, that she was able to do that. A lot of children are not able to do that. But she did. And she was able to tell somebody about it, which has led to him being put in prison for 13 years. I feel very bad for the child because, not only has she had to go through this, she's now got depression and post-traumatic stress disorder at 8 years old. How difficult and destructive is that to her life? And I know what statistics and, facts have said from research that the earlier a child can disclose and get the support that they need to, heal from abuse, the outcome for them as they go into adult will be better for them. And I really hope that this will be the case, because this child doesn't deserve a sentence of having to suffer about sexual abuse with what's happened to her for her entire life. And I pray that she gets all the help and support she needs, and that funding and cuts and everything are not going to get in the way of that. So we learn that, child abusers, they like to inoculate their victims, that, the effects of sexual abuse as well, one of the things that a lot of survivors and victims have had to battle with is where there's no injuries. And we get this kind of he said, she said, because there's no injuries, that means that it didn't happen. There's always psychological kind of evidence within somebody's life who's been distorted by abuse. It's always some type of evidence, whether it's depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, addictive behaviours, relationship issues with children, issues with their own children, issues with family members. It is very hard for people to try and articulate that. Now, that seems to sometimes be on their side when it comes to the law, because it becomes this he said, she said, my word against mine, and their word against yours. And it's sad that it is like that. But another thing we need to remember is that sexual abuse doesn't always have injuries. I was sexually abused, and yes, there were injuries, but for everybody else there might not have been injuries. So we need to bear that in mind. These are things that we can learn. This is why I'm doing this video about this story. These are things that I'm sharing with you that we can learn from this girl's story. Not all the time there might be physical injuries. There could be psychological injuries as well. And again, statistics consistently back up what I have been saying in so many videos, that the person who sexually abuses a child is always somebody the child knows, loves and trusts. Now, statistics have been backing this for years and years and years. Stranger danger, the man in the park, the dirty man in the park in the Mac hiding in the bushes is a myth. A lot of the time, that those cases are few and far between. A lot of the time when a child is being sexually abused, it's by somebody in that child's circle. It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be an uncle, an aunt, it could be a mother, it could be a family friend, it could be a doctor or a scout leader or someone in the church or somebody in the mosque, somebody that has access to that family. What you need to understand is that child abusers, paedophiles, the perpetrators are opportunists. They look for opportunities. One of the things I think in this story is that, they've mentioned it here, and the recorder, the judge mentioned it here, that you took advantage of this girl because you saw there was no father on the scene. I have known of cases like this where there's been no father on the scene, and it has opened up access to that person being able to abuse the child. Now, I'm not condemning the mother or judging the mother. It could so easily happen to anybody. I was a single parent myself for many years, and when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of wisdom with stuff, but thank God, he was able to cover and protect my children from those types of incidents. But it could so easily have been another way, because I never was always in my right mind. I did reckless things. And I let my child stay around families like her father's house and things like that. It could so easily have been any other way, so we can't judge and criticize this mother, because who knows what was going on in her life. The fact that he felt he needed to reassure her shows me she was probably hesitant a bit. But after a while, she felt it was okay. And that's what he was banking on. That's what they rely on, totally winning over the family's trust. You know, people who abuse children, they don't have to, they look every day like you and me. You know, there's no outward signs. It's what's in their heart that is the problem, where they do these things. So, you know, statistics continuously back that 90%, you know, that's a high amount, know the person who's abusing them. And we need to bear that in mind as well. I think that the grooming process was definitely evident in everything that he was doing. And I think that, you know, the fact that he's going by other names, he's probably done it before. But there are some things that we can learn, as I said, from me sharing this, you know, all the stuff that I've just shared with you then, and also some tips that you can help your how to help your children, you know, and give them the kind of right names to name their body parts. That's one thing, you know, we have to give our children the vocabulary to be able, so that if anything is wrong, they're able to tell us what is wrong, you know, and not feel hesitant about it. Telling your children their proper right names for their private parts, telling them it's not okay to keep secrets. You know, why should a big adult be keeping secret with children? No, that to me, that's inappropriate. The adults shouldn't be keeping secrets with children. And I continuously have told my children, when my older daughter was younger, and my younger daughter now, no one's supposed to be keeping secrets with you, you know. Secrets breed all these type of situations as well. My father used to give me a pound note, give me sweets when he was abusing me, telling me it's our little secret and stuff. You know, I don't want my child having secrets with no adult. And I tell her that time and time again. My youngest daughter is now 10, you know. It's not okay for you to be keeping secrets of adults, and making your child feel that they're comfortable and safe to come to you as a parent and tell you any concerns, anything that they think is wrong as well. You know, NSPCC have a fantastic campaign called the no underwear rule, and it's a short video. I'll leave the link in the description box. That kind of teaches how to tell children about, you know, what is safe and what is not safe in relation to their bodies. So these things can help your children, telling them the correct body parts, not telling them not to, that secrets with adults are not okay, and if anybody asks them to keep secrets, they should tell you, making them feel okay to tell you if there's anything wrong, you know, and, you know, teaching them boundaries, teaching them how to keep them safe, because it's not every minute of the day our children are in our company. Now, if you're a parent whose child has been abused, there's a fantastic organisation out there called MOSAC, Mother of Sexually Abused Children. They have a fantastic helpline, and they help the non-abusing parent and give them support. I will leave their link in the description box as well. So, you know, I just wanted to quickly cover this story. As always, you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but unfortunately this is what I believe I'm called to do, to raise awareness and to help people to kind of understand and help them to be able to get information on sexual abuse. Now, if you're somebody in a family, a parent, a friend, or know somebody, and you see things that are not right with children, and you think, oh, well, maybe it's just me, you know, please, I would say to you, get advice on anything that you see. Now, NSPCC, they do offer help to under 18-year-olds, but also as well, if you're a parent or somebody who knows of a child who might be going through a situation, or you've witnessed something and you think, oh gosh, that don't look right, but you think, oh, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just being a bit too suspicious, you can call the NSPCC and they can give you advice, and you can do it confidentially. If it's something that you want to take forward, they can just take it out of your hands and take it forward for you. But please don't just turn a blind eye, because you don't know what that child is going through. You know, you don't know if that child needs help to articulate what's going on. If you have children around you and they seem over sexualized, and, you know, their vocabulary seems very, very explicit for such a young child, or they're displaying sexual behavior, or, you know, other signs, you know, maybe we in the bed having nightmares, different things, you know, you can get help from MOSAT, NSPCC. You can talk to somebody about that, you know. So when we see these type of stories, let us not make it be in vain. Let us do something with this information. You know, we have to remember that, you know, paedophiles, they inoculate their victims to buy their silence while they're doing their crimes. You know, sexual abuse is not always, you don't always see physical injuries. There's always psychological injuries, you know, that are displayed through different things. You know, teaching your child their proper names for their body parts, your children not to keep secrets, telling them about boundaries, and just having an open relationship with them. And also as well, reporting any suspicious behaviour, anything that you think is not right. Even in church, we're seeing it in churches a lot now, and in mosques, we're seeing it in doctors' surgeries, we're seeing it in different places, and we're seeing people who have access to children doing some of the most heinous and most sickest things ever. We need to take a stand against sexual abuse. So I will leave all this information in the description box. Please check out my other videos. I talk a lot about my experience and things that I've been through, in hopes that it will help people, give them the knowledge, and help to be able to come out of their situations, their challenges, and just to educate the public about sexual abuse. I think that more could be done, in helping people to understand its effects. The fact that paedophiles and child abusers, these perpetrators, are so brazen with everything that they do. They think they're above the law, but they're not above God's law, and God is going to deal with them sooner or later. But we want to see justice now in this land. We want to see something done about these people. For far too long they get away with it, and they go around from place to place causing damage and ruining lives, and we need to do something about it. So please check out my other videos. Please share this video, subscribe, like the video. Any support you want to give is much appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.